Event started.
Welcome everyone to our another version of our open wide spaces. We are so excited tonight to be at the Desert Botanical Garden and the famous Noches de las Luminarias. This is a wonderful, wonderful southwestern Sonoran Desert event that we're behind the scenes, and it's just so exciting. We're going to have a wonderful, wonderful evening, festive evening, and thank you for joining us. I'd like to introduce our tour guide, Kim, with the garden, who's going to show us around tonight.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kim, and I am one of the senior directors here at Desert Botanical Garden in Phoenix, Arizona. And it is my true pleasure to welcome all of you to the garden. And we're going to take a little stroll through a part of the garden that is actually the oldest part of the garden, and we call it the Heritage Garden. And this is where it all began. And along the way, you're going to see that we are lit up for the Nights of Luminarias. And Luminarias is a very traditional Southwestern type of event where we have over 8,000 candles, real candles, hand lit by volunteers each night of this event. And it gives this most wonderful, warm glow and really helps start off the holidays with just a wonderful feeling. So as I said, right now we're standing in part of the Heritage Garden, the oldest part of the garden, and behind me is what we call the Founders Wall. The Founders on the wall actually honors people and plants that helped make the garden what it is. And so I'm going to start walking a little bit, and I'm going to ask that the camera actually go past me and focus on these very tall cactus that you'll see now that are lit up. And these are called cardones. These cactus in the cactus family will get larger than any other cactus in the world. Right now, these giants are about 30 feet tall, and they are one of the most photographed parts of the Desert Botanical Garden. They were planted here in 1939. That's the year that the garden was founded. So we are over 80 years old. And at the time that these were brought here from Baja, they were only about 5 feet tall. So the people that brought them here, they knew what they could become, but they never saw them in this glory. But people that come to the garden now absolutely can. And as I said, people, they look in wonder at these giant plants. They're just magnificent. And I would say it's almost infinite, the number of photographs that have been taken of the cardones and of people with the cardones. Sure. And so we're also starting to see some of our guests coming in tonight for Luminarias. So I'm going to let them go by us.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm also going to ask if we can pan the camera over to the corner there, and you can see this very tall, very strange looking plant. We have many of these in the garden. Again, this plant is quite old. It's called a bujum. It's also from Baja, California. And it's one of the weird and wonderful plants that you can see here at the Desert Botanical Garden. And then let's go ahead and keep on walking a little bit. And I think you can start to see the luminarias along the pathway. Again, people ask us all the time, are these really real candles? And they are. About 8,000, as I said, all hand lit at the beginning of the evening, and all of them put out at the end of the evening. So you might be able to hear some bells playing. That this year is actually recorded Handbell Choirs. It's one of the changes we've had to make because of COVID this year. In a normal year, we would have many handbell choirs from throughout the Phoenix Valley performing here, and they are an absolute crowd favorite. So this year, for the safety of everyone, we have their music recorded. And we've arrived here now at the patio of what is known as Webster Auditorium. Webster Auditorium was the first building dedicated in the garden. It's on the National Historic Registry. And it is really the focal point for the garden. It's part of where it all began. And you can see we have a holiday tree every year here. This is also a very favorite place for people to do family photographs when they come to Luminarias. So I was thinking, let's walk over towards the tree. And maybe from here, you can actually take the camera and do a little pivot around. And you can see we're at dusk right now. So plants still visible, but the light of the luminarias really starting to glow. And so I wanted to share just a little bit about what a visitor to the garden can expect. So we have 55 acres of cultivated grounds. So that includes many, many trails, and we have about 50,000 desert plants here. And they come from deserts all over the world. And we do, of course, have the iconic Saguaro Cactus. At the beginning, as we were prepping to begin this, Doug was doing a little imitation of the classic saguaro. And actually, if I can have our camera person turn around, we have a beautiful specimen right behind you. And we have over 1,000 saguaros here in the garden. And they range, there you go, and they range in size from 1 inch to nearly 30 feet tall. They're truly spectacular. And then also other cactus. So you've seen the cardones, also giants of the cactus world. Over half of all the plants we have are cactus. It's our specialty. So one of the things about being in the desert is we're open all year round. This time of year is a real pleasure for people to come here. It's cooler. The light is beautiful during the day. The sun is lower. We have all types of wildlife that have the garden as their home. We have hummingbirds. We have several kinds of owls that are an absolute favorite. We have roadrunners, which when you see a roadrunner for the first time, you will never forget it. I remember my first roadrunner, and I thought, oh my goodness, the Jurassic Park people got it right when they did the velociraptors, because the velociraptors are roadrunners without the feathers. And so we typically are open from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. But during Luminarias, we're open longer. People love to come out with their families, enjoy the ambiance, hear the music, and just get into the holiday spirit. And so this year, we're staying open actually an hour longer than normal. We're staying open until 10:30. So people can walk the trails, enjoy the lights, enjoy the music, have maybe a drink, a snack, and just enjoy being with their family. So let's go ahead and we're going to walk a little bit farther down the trail. And watch the steps.
Thank you.
And again, you might want to look down the path.
Hey, Kim, while you're walking, I have a quick question for you.
Yes.
We have one of our viewers who really loves seeing the saguaros, and she had previously visited the Desert Botanical Garden during the Bruce Munro Field of Light. Do you know if that exhibit is going to return at all?
So we don't have plans yet for that to return. I do know that was a very popular exhibit. But we do have plans for some other very, very exciting exhibits. I'm not at liberty to say just yet what those are, but I would say stay tuned because I think we're going to have some blockbusters on our hands.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So now we're walking around the Webster Auditorium building. So you'll also notice we have luminarias on top of the building. And one thing that I like to share with people is that when the garden first started having luminarias as an event, all of the luminarias were paper bags with the sand, with the candles, including on the roof. They were real candles. And the fire department said, if you're going to have real candles on the roof of your buildings, you have to have somebody on the roof of your building just in case. So I'm going to tell you a little secret. The luminarias on the top of our buildings now are electric. So even though all the ones you see on the ground are real candles, for safety, the ones on the roof are plugged in. So we'll keep walking. And so where we're going to go is to a beautiful patio that's on the back side of the Webster Auditorium. And that faces what we call the butte because it's a butte that happens to be on the garden property. You'll be able to see many of the iconic saguaros. And we're going to go this way. It's also where we have what we call a Patio Cafe. So it's one of the places in the garden where you can get something to eat, something to drink. And also you'll see here now, if you want to get to your right. So we have this lovely patio here that's very popular for people to enjoy their lunch or just hang out, take a break while they're in the garden. It's also used for private events. It's a lovely, kind of rustic and historic area. And so now we're moving towards the patio. It's actually called Almond Terrace. And I can actually see some of the sunset happening. That's another thing. Sunset here is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you can see some of the saguaros backlit. Let's walk over there and try to get a better view. And so you might hear singing right now. So tonight is actually a special night for our members. And so it's one of the few nights that we do have a little bit of live music. And here on Almond Terrace, we have some carolers. And so we're moving now, though, so you can see out towards the sunset and those great iconic saguaros framed against the sunset. And photographing sunset from the garden is also a really popular thing, and there are many areas from which you can get fantastic photos of the desert sunsets. And now we're starting to focus on the butte, and you can see the many saguaros lit on the butte. And the person that asked about Bruce Monroe may recall that the butte was quite an amazing exhibit piece of that overall exhibit. It's a little calmer right now, but still really beautiful. And so if we walk through Almond Terrace, so you'll see we do have some tables set up because there is the Patio Cafe from which people can order food. We have heaters, so it's very comfortable, even though it's chilly here right now. And by the way, chilly means it's in the low 60s. And we'll take just a minute to enjoy the carolers.
Jingle bell time, it's a swell time to go riding in a one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet, jingle all around the clock. Mix and a mingle and a jingling bell, that's the jingle bell rock. Mix and a mingle and a jingling beat, that's the jingle bell, that's the jingle bell, that's the jingle bell rock. Thank you. Winter Wonderland?
And so we wanted to come over here, and we have Kylie, who's with our Desert Botanical Garden gift shop. And she actually had a few things that she brought out that's available in the shop for the holiday season. Kylie, do you want to share a little bit about what you have here?
Absolutely. So we have some holiday cactuses in the shop, as well as pots to go with those. We have our Luminarias bags that you can see here at the gardens. You get a candle with those. You can reproduce it at your house. And then we have these lovely ornaments. The copper ones are made here in Phoenix. And those are Dos Damas designs. And then we also have these lovely glass ornaments that are hand painted. And those are done by Brenda Schott.
Sing a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown.
Thank you, Kylie.
So much. You sing you can do a job with snowman.
Later on, we'll conspire the as we find a fire, please not afraid, the plans that we made, walking in the winter wonderland.
So right now, as I said, it's getting a little chilly, according to Phoenix, what we call chilly. But it's a really wonderful time for us in Phoenix to kind of put on some sweaters, maybe put on a hat. I will say that when we see visitors here from other parts of the country where it gets truly cold, we can tell them right away, because when it's 65 degrees and we're wearing jackets, the people from the really cold climes are in their t-shirts. And we smile at them and they smile at us because they think, why on earth are you wearing a jacket? So we're walking back down towards our main trail. And you can see there are twinkle lights wound around many of our trees. This is also a favorite for photography for people who are visiting the garden in the evening during holiday times. And the twinkle lights will stay up even after we finish Luminaria. There's several 100,000 twinkle lights that are wrapped around many of our trees. Hello. So let's walk just a little bit farther down the path. So I'll also share with you that during Luminarias, it's not uncommon for there to be at least a couple of marriage proposals that happen in the garden. And our event staff, they get very excited about this. We have done some really fun things to surprise the recipient of the proposal, including having twinkle lights wound to say, "Will you marry me?" and switched on just as the couple rounds the corner on the path. And with champagne tucked behind a plant for when they celebrate, because we were sure they were going to celebrate, and they did. So again, if you want to pan through there, you can see more of the garden through the trees, seeing yuccas, agaves, aloes. It's a desert wonderland.
Hey, Kim,
Yes.
can you talk about the process of putting Christmas lights on the cactus?
On the cactus. So we don't put lights on the cactus. So these twinkle lights, so they're in our trees, and they do go on trees like mesquite trees, Palo Verde trees, ironwood trees. Now, one thing I will tell you is that some of these trees do have thorns. So they can be a little tricky. And we start doing this over a month in advance of Luminarias. And it takes an incredible amount of time for our event staff to wrap these trees to make them so beautiful. And I know that they, as well as pretty much everyone who works here, at some point, we get some scars from working with these desert plants, but we love them.
It looks so beautiful. You're getting a lot of comments in the comment box saying how great everything looks.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I will tell you, I came from the Midwest. I've been here 11 years now, and I love the desert. I love the desert. And the Sonoran Desert, which is where we are located, is one of the most diverse deserts in the world. It's an incredibly lush desert, unlike any other in the world. And so coming here, I sort of liken it to people saying they want to visit the Great Barrier Reef because it's one of the great, amazing natural places in the world to visit. But the Sonoran Desert, I think, ranks right up there. And I hope you're getting a little bit of that sense with the kinds of plants that you see, weird and wonderful shapes that you just don't see anywhere else. And then certainly at this time of year, when we light them and wrap them, it's just incredibly beautiful.
And the best part is that all of our visitors can experience this technically without a winter jacket. However, us Phoenicians tend to get a little bit more cold.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. You might be hearing some music again. So we've actually moved into a different part of the garden. Right now, that's recorded music, again, because of COVID this year. But in a normal year here, we would have live music throughout the garden of various different genres. And so now we're near what we call the Agave Forest. And so many people don't know that Joshua trees, which many people have heard of, Joshua trees are a form of yucca. And so that's what we have here. This one that's lit in red tonight is a Joshua tree. We have many Joshua trees. And when one does walk through the Agave Yucca Forest, amongst the kinds of agaves we have there is what we call the blue agave. And that's what many people actually really like because it's the agave from which you get tequila. And now we're coming up on another boojum. This is another one of these plants that I think is one of the most talked about plants right here. So boojum actually comes from a Lewis Carroll book. It's kind of a nonsense word, but it's kind of a nonsensical plant. It's hard to imagine a plant like this. So this is the boojum. Again, it comes from Baja. And then we'll keep going around the corner here. And our succulent galleries, where we have succulent plants from deserts around the world. And we're lighting them up during Luminarias so people can enjoy them even in the evening. And so all in one place, you can see desert plants from places like South Africa and Madagascar and Central America, as well as Mexico and deserts in the United States. Sometimes I call it being in a Dr. Seuss garden because they remind me so much of Dr. Seuss drawings, but they're real.
We actually just had a comment come in that Joshua trees are very Dr. Seuss-like as well.
They absolutely are.
So it's perfect timing for that comment.
Yes, and if one is visiting Phoenix and has a car, you don't have to drive too far, and you start to get into Joshua Tree Forest. You don't have to go all the way to Joshua Tree National Park. We actually have Joshua trees here in Arizona, and it's like looking at a Dr. Seuss forest. It's really amazing. And so again, I just want to talk about a little bit about the garden, and certainly during COVID. So for us, being an outdoor venue is a plus. And we were closed down for a while, starting in March. We opened up again to the public in July. We've, of course, put a lot of safety measures in place. And you notice I was wearing a mask, as is Doug. So we ask all our guests to wear masks while they're in the garden and to distance from other groups by 6 feet at least. And we get wonderful comments from our visitors about how nice it is to come to a place as beautiful as the garden, to be outdoors, and just to, really get a respite from what we all feel of the stresses of living through a pandemic. And I hope you're kind of getting that sense by seeing part of the garden at night during Luminarias. It really creates a sense of calm as much as it delights to look at. And if you want to just pan down. So I think we're probably getting close to running out of time. So, there we go. Okay, so here I am and with Doug. And I really hope that you've enjoyed walking through part of the garden. There's much, much more to be seen here at the garden. Many trails to enjoy, each of them different, many different kinds of plants. And it's just a fantastic place, particularly at this time of the year and all the way through the spring.
It really is a gorgeous place to be any time of year, especially now during the Luminarias. It's so special to have the garden here in Greater Phoenix. Sarah, do we have any other questions?
I just put out a last call for questions, so I think we can start wrapping up, and if anything comes through, I'll certainly let you know.
Okay, well, we just wanted to thank Kim for the wonderful tour tonight. We've had such a great time to see all of the Luminarias and the special events that are here at the garden. Please stay in touch, and happy holidays to all.
Thank you so much. Oh, I have a question. last question that's coming in. When does Luminaria end?
December 31st, so New Year's Eve.
There you go. All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. Happy holidays, and if you need anything else, please reach out to the Visit Phoenix team, and we'll be here to assist you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays. Thanks.
Happy holidays, Terry. See you soon.
Yes, I hope so.